بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقا ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربع. أما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا في الدرس 23 في شرح مختصر النحو المفيد للمبتدئ فيه والمعيد. وقد وقفنا في الدرس الماضي عند مبحث وعند مسألة نواصب الفعل المضارع. طبعا يا إخوان we have begun our discussion or study of الجملة الفعلية. We studied what its structure was. We studied some مسائل related to the فاعل. We studied some مسائل related to the default or ترتيب an order of the جملة فعلية, which the فعل comes first and the فاعل then the مفعول به. Sometimes the مفعول به can come before the فعل as well in order to denote some sort of an exclusivity or الحصر إلى آخر ذلك. Then we discussed a مسألة, that is المسألة الثانية that we are discussing currently, and that is a مسألة related to one of the components of جملة فعلية, which is الفعل المضارع. So فعل المضارع, it can be there are a few articles that can cause it to become mansoob, and this is what we are learning in this mabhath and in this mas'ala, that what are those words that make the fi'l mudari' mansoob. We discussed three the other day, an, lan, and kay, and then we had left it because it had been a long dars relatively, so it could have caused us to not concentrate a lot on this. فهنا ذكرنا an, and we also mentioned the meaning of an. We mentioned lan, its meaning, and kay. So whenever these words are used before a fi'l mudari', the fi'l mudari' after it will be mansoob. It will be mansoob. By default, it is marfu'. The asl, the base principle is that it's marfu'. When there is nothing before it, there is nothing that has any effect on it before it, it's going to remain marfu'. And now, because we mentioned an or lan or kay before the fi'l mudari', it will cause it to become mansoob, and it will show as a fatha مثلا, or it will show as حذف النون if it is one of the أفعال خمسة. The different signs of nasb for the fi'l mudari' that we have learned previously. طيب, just as a revision for what we had learned in the previous test, what was the meaning of an that we had mentioned, ya ikhwan? What is the meaning of an?
It means two or that.
Ahsan, two or that. Mumtaz. With regards to lan, what is the meaning of lan?
Will not.
Will not. Ahsantum. With regards to kay, what is the meaning of kay?
So that,
and that is used in order to elaborate or provide a reason for something that you are doing. Like in the example here, we have حضرت, I attended مثلا a lesson. Why did you attend the lesson? I attended the lesson كي أتعلم العربية, so that I learn Arabic. Okay, what we are left with was إذن. إذن, who knows the meaning of إذن? It's a very commonly used word amongst those who speak Arabic, but perhaps someone has an idea of what is the meaning of إذن.
Would it be then?
Yes, it can be then. It can be used as hence, hence, or you can say thus, hence and thus, and even then, when you're speaking like, perhaps, slang English, perhaps you'd say then. You wouldn't tend to use hence and thus. That would be too formal. But just to make the translation accurate and to avoid confusion with other meanings of then, let's just use hence and thus here. So this is the meaning of idhan. Now idhan, generally it does not cause nasb. Generally it does not cause any nasb. It causes nasb when in one situation, in one scenario, it causes nasb. When it is used in a response to something, it's used in a response. Of course, any idhan is usually used in a response. That's one thing. But any response, and then the thing that you mentioned after idhan is something that's going to happen in the future. يعني see someone يعني جوابا لمن قال سأزورك يعني جوابا in response to someone who said مثلا he says to you I'm going to visit you, so you responded يعني respond to his يعني respond to what he has said, and you are mentioning something that is going to happen in the future. إذن أكرمك يعني if he says that I'm going to visit you, you say okay, then I will honor you, or thus I will honor you. And if you visit me, I will thus honor you. I will honor you. So you see, it's something related to the future. So this is important in idhan. That in order for idhan to cause a nasb, it is important that it is used as a jawab, jawaban li. It's used as a response. Let's just say response. لحظة. That is used as a response, and the fi'l that you mention after it is referring to something in the future. The verb is in future tense. طبعا we know that fi'l mudari', it's not necessary for it to be interpreted as a future tense. It's not necessary for you to use the seen or sofa. Yani even if you use the fi'l mudari' sometimes without seen and sofa, it's referring to the future tense. مثلا I ask you مثلا هل ذهبت إلى المدرسة؟ هل ذهبت إلى المدرسة? Did you go to the madrasa? I'll say no, لا أذهب الآن. أذهب الآن يعني I will go now. Now you're not saying سأذهب الآن, سوف أذهب الآن. Even without the seen and sofa, it is referring to a future fi'l. أذهب الآن, I will go now. أو أذهب بعد قليل, I will go after a while. هل صليت صلاة العصر? Have you prayed صلاة العصر? سأصلي بعد قليل أو أصلي بعد قليل. You say أصلي بعد قليل, I will pray after a while. Now this is a fi'l that is referring to some future event. يعني something that has that is not happening right now. It's referring to something in future. طيب لا بأس أخي هيثم, بارك الله فيك, وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. لا بأس أخي, وفقك الله. May Allah bless you and may Allah grant you success. طيب إذن, so إذن يا إخوان, when does it cause nasb? When it is being used in response to something else. It is the word that is used with it is referring to something in the future tense. And another one of the other things that they mention with regards to it is that there is no gap between إذن and أكرمك مثلا. يعني مثلا يعني it's يعني it is not separated by another word. I'm just giving you a general description or general you can say description of the shart. There are more subtleties to this because they they make an exception for مثلا some جملة اعتراضية, like they make an exception for قسم. So if you want to say إذن والله, they might make an exception for it. They make an exception for anything that contains لا نفي, لا إذن لا أكرمك. So they make an exception for it. But generally speaking, there shouldn't be any separation between إذن and the fi'l. So this is it's a little complicated. In order to make it easy for ourselves, just remember that إذن will cause nasb when it is used in response to something, and verb is in future tense. This is very important. The verb is in a future tense, and it's referring to something that is going to happen in the future, not something that is happening right now. So مثلا if you say سأزورك غدا I will visit you tomorrow. So you say إذن أجهز الأشياء أو أجهز الأشياء الآن. Thus I am preparing for your visit. مثلا أجهز لزيارتك من الآن. I am preparing for your visit from right now. So you are doing it in حال. In that case, you are preparing at that very time. It's not something that's going to happen in the future. In this scenario, إذن will not cause nasb. It will not cause nasb. It will only cause nasb when the fi'al is referring to something that is going to happen in the future. So it's a little bit complicated, but يعني لا بأس. See, here, يا إخوان, it's important to realize that it's not important that you remember all of the shurut that we discuss, يعني A to Z, the way they have been told to you, and you become an expert at applying those shurut and recognizing where it's applying, where it's not applying. Right now, even if you what you gain from this is the fact that you have heard that idhan has some shurut. Idhan is not a nasib in absolute sense. It has some shurut. There are some conditions stipulated for which are necessary for it to apply nasb. Just the fact that to know that there are some conditions, this is even good enough for you, because inshallah, when you move to the advanced level of Nahw, that is when you will remember, yes, there was some complication with idhan. So it will not be something that is totally new to you. You will not be totally you will be a little bit familiar with it. So whenever you are studying an amateur or a beginner level of any science of ilm, it's not necessary that you understand all of the masail and all of that is thrown at you. You grasp it and you store it in your memory. No, most of it perhaps you might forget, you might not recall it right away. But yes, if you are taught that mas'ala once again, or third time, fourth time, that is when it will be easier for you to grasp it, because you have heard about it once. So even if you take from these complications of idhan, the fact that there are some shurut, there are some subtleties to it, that is also inshallah a very big gain باذن ta'ala. Right. Any questions so far with regards to an, lan, idhan, and kay? طيب إذا نحن سننتقل الآن بارك الله فيكم إلى لحظة 1 second بارك الله فيكم. لحظة. طيب ننتقل الآن إلى النواصب الأخرى. So these four يا إخوان, they stand out from the other nawasib due to the fact that they cause the nasb by themselves بذاتها. هذه الأربع تنصب الفعل المضارع بذاتها, by themselves. Okay, now we are going into the virtual world of the grammarians and nahwiyin, where where they have their philosophy, where they have their concepts and realities, and they tell us what is causing nasb by itself and what is causing nasb due to something that is hidden, etc. So that's where we are heading into. So it's pretty much our attitude towards it should be more of submission and acceptance rather than lots of objection. طيب, moving on to لام التعليل. طيب, did we read لام التعليل yesterday? I think we did. Yes, we did read all of them. طيب, الآن ننتقل إلى لام التعليل. لام التعليل يا إخوان, لام طبعا we know لام is the letter لام, and تعليل means providing علة. And what is علة? علة is reason, wisdom. Reason, wisdom, why you did something. It performs the same function as kay. Kay and lam al-ta'lil are the same thing. In terms of the meaning. In terms of their meaning, yes, there might be some really fine difference between the two, but we don't want to go into that right now. If we put it simply, inshallah, kay and lam al-ta'lil, they both perform the same function. They are used to mention the reason for which you did something. مثلا, here we have a مثال. دخلت المسجد لأصلي. I entered masjid to pray. Why did you, like, it's as if it's an answer to a question. Why did you do so? دخلت المسجد. طيب, لماذا دخلت المسجد? Why did you enter the masjid? I will say لأصلي, so that I can pray. طيب. It is performing the same function as kay. And if you use kay instead of lam, that would have been a correct sentence. You would have said دخلت المسجد كي أصلي. دخلت المسجد لأصلي. Both are correct. طيب. What about this lam al-ta'lil? So far, its meaning is, I hope it's clear. Kay meant so that, and lam al-ta'lil will also mean so that. That will be the meaning of lam al-ta'lil. الآن, وهذه اللام تنصب الفعل. Does it apply the nasb by itself, or does it, or is there something that is hidden that is causing the nasb? We learned that the only ones that cause the nasb by themselves in the world of Nahw are four: an, lan, idhan, kay. And lam al-ta'lil does not cause the nasb by itself. Rather, there is an mudmara. What's the meaning of mudmara, ya ikhwan? If you remember, dhamir and ism dhahir. Dhamir was something, we call the pronoun dhamir because it is, and the opposite to dhamir is ism dhahir. So what will be mudmar? What will be the meaning of mudmar? What will be the meaning of mudmara? It's related to dhamir. Hidden, نعم, أحسنتم. Hidden, barakallahu fikum. بأن مضمرة. And a hidden an. Mustatir is, something that is behind a satar, concealed. Mudmar, hidden. Just like, dhamir. Dhamir is our conscience. Why is it called dhamir? Because it's inside. It's hidden. It cannot be seen. So that's why it's called dhamir, right? So بأن مضمرة. So what is causing the nasb here? The lam itself is not causing the nasb. Rather, what is causing the nasb is an an that is hidden. Is it a must that you have to hide the an? Or is it permissible? If you want to hide the an, you can hide it and just say li usalliya. And if you want to not hide it, that is also permissible. It's not a must. Rather, jawazan. What's the meaning of jawazan, ya ikhwan? What's the meaning of jawaz?
It's permissible.
Permissibility. Jawaz means permissibility. Yani it is permissible. An mudmara jawazan. Yani it is permissible to hide the an. It's not an obligation. It's not lazim. وَمَعْنَى ذَلِكَ. What's the meaning of this an mudmara jawazan? Meaning of this, first of all, meaning of mudmara is hidden. مَعْنَى ذَلِكَ أَنَّكَ. It means that if you want to, in shi'ta, if you'd like to, حذفت an, you omit and delete an. وإن شئت ذكرتها. And if you'd like to, you can mention it. فقلت, and you will say, if you want to mention an, you will say then دخلت المسجد لأن أصلي. لأن أصلي. So with lam al-ta'lil, it is permissible for you to mention the an or not mention the an. Is this clear, inshallah, ya ikhwan?
It's clear, inshallah.
Inshallah. طيب. Lam al-ta'lil, you can, if you'd like to, you can mention the an. If you'd like to, you don't have to mention the an. What is causing the nasb here, ya ikhwan? Can you just clarify for me? What is causing the nasb? Is the lam itself causing the nasb, or is there something else that is causing the nasb?
It's the an.
It's the
hidden
an.
an.
The hidden an, or if it appears and you use it as an apparent letter, then it's the apparent an. واضح. ممتاز جدا. ممتاز جدا. Okay, very good. So this is the usage of lam al-ta'lil. Usage of lam al-ta'lil. And lam al-ta'lil, ya ikhwan, it's, if you remember the lam al-jar, the one that causes jar, it's exactly the same thing. What was the meaning of li when we used it in huruf al-jar? مثلا هذا القلم لي مثلا لأبي بكر وهذا القلم لعلي. What was the meaning of li?
For.
نعم, for. أحسنت. طيب. And this same li, the same lam can be used to mention some hikmah, some reason. Even if you're not using it with af'al. مثلا you say لماذا سافرت إلى المدينة? Why did you travel to Medina? So you say مثلا لطلب العلم, for seeking knowledge, for seeking لطلب العلم الشرعي, for seeking the knowledge of Sharia, right? لطلب العلم الشرعي, for this. So again, that very same lam that you use to provide reasons for, even if you're using it with asma, the very same lam you can use it with af'al. With asma, it used to cause what? It used to cause jar. Remember, it used to cause jar. Here it causes what? It causes a nasb. It causes nasb. And there is more to it, but I don't want to go into a bit of detail why we say that there is an mudmara here. It's easy to understand this concept, inshallah, but when you reach an more advanced level of Nahw, level 2, level 3, inshallah, that's where you will بإذن ta'ala be able to understand this better. بإذن ta'ala. طيب. نأتي الآن إلى لام الجحود. لام الجحود. لحظة, 1 second. نأتي الآن إلى لام الجحود. What is لام الجحود? What is the meaning of juhud? Do you remember what's the meaning of juhud from عقيدة? تذكرون كفر الجحود والاستكبار?
Denying and belying.
Denying, belying, or more, to be more precise, refusing. كفر الجحود والاستكبار was, denying and sort of refusing. I don't want to do this. That was refusing to do something. That is exactly what this lam is used in, lam al-juhud. When you are denying something and refusing that you're not going to do this in the first place, So that is why it is always used with ma kana or lam yakun. Yani kana, and before it there should be some sort of a nafi. There should be some sort of a negation. A negation. The example will make it clear when it is used. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُمْ. How will you translate this ayah? وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُمْ. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُمْ will be translated as that Allah was never going to wrong them. Allah was never going to do so. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُمْ. Allah was never going to do so. There's juhud. Allah is never going to do this. He was never going to do it. Just like we say, مثلا, if I ask you, did you greet Ahmed? And one of you مثلا has a grudge with someone called Ahmed, and he says, حتى لو لقيته, even if I met him, ما كنت لأسلم عليه, I was not going to say salam to him. ما ما كنت لأسلم عليه. I was not going to say salam to him. وما كان الله ليظلمهم. Allah was not going to oppress them, and this was never the case in the first place. Allah is this was never a possibility. So this is where, with this, when you want to give this sort of a meaning, and for which you use وما كان, or you use لم يكن, لم يكن الله ليهدي. What is that ayah يا إخوان؟ لم يكن الله سبحان الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says لم يكن الله ليغفر له. Surah an-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says لم يكن الله ليغفر له. لم يكن الله ليغفر له. لم يكن الله ليغفر لهم. طيب, what is the meaning of this ayah? يعني Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said إن الذين كفروا وظلموا لم يكن الله ليغفر لهم. يعني those who have committed kufr and they have wronged themselves, Allah was never going to forgive them. يعني Allah will never forgive them. يعني if they remain on this, Allah will never forgive them. لم يكن الله ليغفر لهم. Allah was never going to forgive them. You see, if because of this sifa, this quality of theirs, there is the kufr and dhulm. لم يكن الله ليغفر لهم. So the lam here, ya ikhwan, this lam, what is it called? What will it be called? Lam al-juhud. Here the lam is not being used to provide a reason for something. You can notice from the translation of this ayah, لم يكن الله ليغفر لهم. Allah was not going to forgive them. Here the lam is not being used for any sort of reasoning or providing a wisdom for something. Rather, it is being used along with a complete denial, complete refusal to do something. Allah is not going to forgive them. Allah is not going to forgive them. With this, you use lam al-juhud, and it must be used with ma kana or lam yakun. Ma kana or lam yakun. So, yani, this is how the lam al-juhud. This is how the lam al-juhud is used. Is it clear to some extent, inshallah?
Yes, it's clear, inshallah. I have a question.
نعم تفضل.
So for this lam al-juhud, is it? What are there exceptions to this? I know in this so far we have learned generally we meet a few exceptions. Is it in all instances that it follows makana or lam yakun, or are there exceptions to that?
I don't know of any exceptions to what has mentioned here. The only thing that is mentioned, the only condition that is there is that it should be used after makana or after lam yakun. I don't know any exceptions to this. I don't know of any scenario in which you can use lam and juhud without makana or lam yakun. Do you know of any?
No, I don't.
اوكي طيب ما في اشكال. كذلك مثلا وما كان الله ليطلعكم على الغيب. وما كان الله ليطلعكم على الغيب. وما كان الله, يعني continue from here, ليطلعكم على الغيب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was never going to let you know al-ghayb. Allah was never going to let you look into the ghayb, peek into the ghayb. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُطْلِعَكُمْ, يعني never was this going to happen. Allah is never going to let you know the ghayb, and Allah was never going to let you peek into the ghayb. How do we translate lam al-juhud? Honestly, word-to-word translation of lam al-juhud is not possible. I don't find it possible. You have to take this whole style and whole usloob and translate it. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُم, Allah was not going to wrong them and oppress them. And then you translate. It's an usloob to usloob translation, style to style translation. It's not possible here to have word-to-word corresponding a translation. Wallahu a'lam. والله أعلم. طيب يا إخوان, الآن أقيمت الصلاة هنا. إن شاء الله بعد الصلاة بإذن الله تعالى سنكمل من حتى وفاء السببية واو المعية إن شاء الله بإذن الله تعالى. طيب نقف هنا الآن. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد، فكنا قد وقفنا عند لام الجحود، انتهينا منه. طيب, any other questions with regards to لام الجحود ولام التعليل يا إخوان؟ In لام الجحود, remember, very key, ما كان and لم يكن. These two are key. They must be mentioned before it, before you use لام الجحود. طيب. نعم. نعم تفضل.
If in these examples, if we take out lam al-juhud, would the meaning change, or would it still mean that there's some negation going on?
وما كان الله يظلمهم. See, the meaning will change in the following sense. See, when you say وما كان الله يظلمهم, this would mean that Allah did not use to wrong them in the past. Allah, وما كان Allah, in the past, Allah didn't use to wrong them, didn't use to oppress them. This would be the meaning. When you say وما كان الله ليظلمهم, it means Allah was never going to do that, and Allah will never do that. And he was never going to do it, and He will never do it. So yes, the meaning will change. And if you don't use the lam, it will be وما كان الله يظلمهم. Allah did not use to wrong them, but there is nothing about the absolute impossibility of that happening, and there is nothing about the future. But when you say وما كان الله ليظلمهم, this means that Allah was not going to do that, and He will never do it. I hope it's clear, inshallah.
Yeah, that's clear.
الحمد لله. بارك الله. طيب, إذا ننتقل الآن إلى حتى. طيب, what was the meaning of حتى يا إخوان when we did it in حروف الجر? Until. ممتاز. طيب, it's the same meaning, and حتى نبعث رسولا here, and also sometimes حتى is also used for تعليل, to provide a reason. مثلا, if you say, and first let us do the example that we have at our hands. وما كنا معذبين حتى نبعث رسولا. We are not those who punish until we send a messenger. حتى نبعث, until we send a messenger. طيب, what did حتى do here يا إخوان? What did it cause to become mansub? نبعث. And how would نبعث be had it not been mansub?
نبعث.
But when you used حتى with it, then you were, this is the way of the Arabs, that you use, you make it mansub. حتى نبعث رسولا. حتى نبعث رسولا. طيب, this is one meaning of حتى. Sometimes when we speak Arabic, we also use حتى to provide a reason for something. مثلا, you would say ذهبت إلى مكة حتى أتمكن من طلب العلم. I went to Mecca so that I could be able to seek knowledge. مثلا حتى أطلب العلم. Sometimes in our spoken language in particular, it is used in the meaning of ta'lil as well, the meaning of so that as well. But mostly it is used in the meaning of until. طيب. Other examples from the Quran يا إخوان of حتى, after which there is a fi'l.
حتى يلج الجمل في سم الخياط.
أحسنت. حتى يلج الجمل في سم الخياط. حتى يلج الجمل في سم الخياط. طيب, الآن Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never forgive these kuffar and those who have been arrogant. حتى يلج لا تفتح لهم أبواب السماء ولا يدخلون الجنة حتى يلج الجمل. They will never enter Jannah until حتى يلج الجمل, until a camel passes through the needle eye. في حتى يلج الجمل في سم الخياط. Now, what did حتى do here, يا إخوان?
Change Yalija.
Yalija. And Yalija, how would it have been had it not been mansub?
Yaliju.
Yaliju. It became Yalija. ممتاز جدا. So this is the function of حتى. طيب. Now, this new category, يعني لام التعليل was one category. The 4 anlan idan kay were one category, and we have this new category that is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and all of them, there's something related to it which will be mentioned يعني the next page, and that is وهذه الخمس تنصب الفعل المضارع بأن مضمرة وجوبا. يعني these 10, these 5 do not cause the nasb by themselves. Rather, they cause the nasb. What causes the nasb is an an-mudmara wujuban. So here in lam al-juhud, yani in the world of Nahw, yani even though for us, yani it's very easy. We mention lam al-juhud, after that we make them fi'al mansub. But in the world of Nahw, we will not say that the lam is the one, lam al-juhud is the one that caused the nasb. Rather, we will say what caused the nasb will be an-mudmarah wujuban. An-mudmarah wujuban. Where will we mention this? Yani if you go into the details with regards to yadlima, you will say fi'al mudari' mansub, fi'al mudari' mansub, and you will say bi an-mudmarah wujuban. You will not say mansub bi lam al-juhud. Yani it is not mansub because of lam al-juhud. That is not what you will say. Rather, you will say it is mansub because of an-mudmarah wujuban. Wujuban means it is a must to hide this an. Why do we say that there is a hidden an? Why don't we just simply say lam al-juhud is the nasib itself? It's the world of Nahw. Let the Nahwiyin play with it, and let us just accept how they have given it to us. There is reason for it. There is good reason for it. But right now, I don't want to discuss that reason, just to avoid further confusion. Just let's take it the way they are giving it to us. An-mudmara wujuban. That's what causes nasb after lam al-juhud. So we have lam al-juhud. After lam al-juhud, we will have a hidden an, and that will cause the fi'l after it, mudari after it, to become mansub. Likewise in hatta, same thing, same story. Hatta nab'atha rasula. If you go into the detail with regards to nab'atha, you will say fi'l mudari mansubun. And what will you say? Mansub bi hatta, or will you say mansub bi an mudmara wujuban? يا إخوان. فعل مضارع منصوب بحتى, or will you say بأن مضمرة وجوبا?
Yeah, we'll say بأن مضمرا وجوبا.
أحسن. بأن مضمرة وجوبا. يعني a hidden an. An an that is hidden, and it is hidden must, as a must. طيب. That's what you will say technically. طيب. So this was what was related to hatta. Now, ikhwani, we have something that is called fa as-sababiyya. And fa as-sababiyya is the fa that, okay, let me explain this to you. مثلا, with an example. طبعا sababiyya is taken from sabab. Sabab means reason, cause. طيب. fa as-sababiyya, ya ikhwan, is the fa that is followed by a consequence of something that was mentioned before. Yani what comes after the fa, and what is before the fa will be the cause. After the fa will be the consequence. This is fa as-sababiyya. The fa that explains or that shows the consequence of a cause. The fa that shows the consequence of some cause, something that happened and that caused another thing. Now here, it is not important to understand how the sababiyya or the sabab works and to identify it in a sentence. There are other technical things that you have to learn in order to identify sababiyya, sababiyya. Why do we call it fa sababiyya and why do we not just mention any fa for that sake? Why don't we just say fa instead of sababiyya? Because sometimes fa is used for tartib, for organizing, putting in order things, different multiple things that are mentioned. مثلا, if I say جاء زيد فعمر فبكر فأحمد فمحمد, this means that Zaid came, then Bakr, then Amr. So sometimes it's just for organizing a list of things or list of people. كذلك مثلا, when you say in the salat, in the imam says أتم الصف الأول فالأول هكذا, he says, right? أتم الصف الأول فالأول, يعني إيش؟ يعني first complete the first row, then the next first row, فالأول, then the next first row. So this is the fa that is used for tartib. So يعني that is called fa al-atf. As opposed to it, we have this fa that is that is called sababiyya. That is called sababiyya. How will you translate it in English? This, inshallah, will become clear when we look into the example. The example says, لا تشرب ماء باردا فتمرض. فتمرض. Do not drink cold water lest you fall sick. Lest you fall sick. Yani, if you drink cold water, the consequence will be that you will fall sick. So this is fa as-sababiyya. Let me give you more examples of fa as-sababiyya. مثلا, I say to you, ذاكر في النهار, الله المستعان, ذاكر في النهار فتنجح. ذاكر يعني revise, study, prepare in the day, فتنجح. فتنجح. What will be the consequence? The consequence will be that you will succeed. You will succeed. Now, how will you translate this in English? Study in the day and you will succeed, or so that you succeed. Now, there is no particular translation of fa here that we can strike, to be honest. Yani, there is no one translation. Like here with لا تشرب ماء باردا فتمرض, here we were translating fa as lest you fall ill, lest you fall sick, so that you not fall, lest you fall sick. You see, but when we use it with fi'al amr, we say ذاكر في النهار فتنجح, revise and study in the day so that you succeed, or the consequence will be that you succeed, etc. So here the translation of fa will be different. طيب. Likewise, مثلا, in مثلا, if we have in the قول of Fir'aun, ابن لي صرح لعلي أبلغ الأسباب أسباب السماوات فأطلع إلى إله موسى. طيب. Fir'aun says that to Haman to build for him a huge ladder, a huge staircase, so that he says لعلي أبلغ الأسباب, لعلي أبلغ الأسباب. Then he says أسباب السماوات فأطلع إلى إله موسى. طيب. So here again, if we look into this ayah, the translation will be of the fa sababiyya will be it's not one word that you can bring up for the fa sababiyya. مثلا here Sheikh Dr. Mustafa Khattab, مثلا, in the Clear Quran, he says that Pharaoh ordered Haman, build me a high tower so that I may reach the pathways leading up to the heavens and look for the God of Moses. فَأَطَّلِعَ إِلَى إِلَهِ Musa. So he translated fa here as and. So there is no one single translation. That was the one that was working with ذاكر فتنجح. When we said ذاكر في النهار فتنجح, revise and study in the day, during the day, and you will succeed. The consequence will be that you will succeed. So you don't have one particular translation for this fa. It's difficult to get one, but hopefully if you read lots of examples of fa as-sababiyya, you will be able to bi'idhnillahi ta'ala process its meaning, inshallah, and grasp its usage and its meaning bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. طيب, هنا let us just take a few more examples so that لحظة. مثلا نقول simple examples will be like مثلا لا تسرع فتخطئ. Don't be hasty, don't be in a rush. فتخطئ, lest you make a mistake. طيب. And here يا إخوان, I'd like to share with you a very, very beneficial book that is full of examples from Quran and Sunnah, and that is what I'm going to inshallah share with you. Just 1 second here. I will بإذن ta'ala. It's called an-Nahw at-Tatbiqi. طيب لحظة. Let me just go to the fa as-sababiyya chapter from Nahw at-Tatbiqi so that طيب لحظة. طيب النحو التطبيقي إن شاء الله. I'll share the PDF with you بإذن الله تعالى. Here the thing with this book is that it mentions lots of examples from the Quran and from the Sunnah. So here مثلا he mentions an example of fa as-sababiyya, that is لا يقضى عليهم فيموتوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not let them die. This ayah is talking about the kuffar, that they will not die permanently in the hellfire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Fatir, وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَهُمْ نَارُ جَهَنَّمَ لَا يُقْضَى عَلَيْهِمْ فَيَمُوتُوا وَلَا يُخَفَّفُ عَنْهُمْ مِنْ عَذَابِهَا. They will not be allowed to be finished. They will not be allowed to be finished. يُقْضَى, Allah will not finish with them. Sometimes قَضَى عَلَيْهِ means to finish something. قَضَى عَلَيْهِ, to finish someone, to finish something or someone. That's why in Musa alayhi salam story we had فَوَكَزَهُ Musa punched him. فَقَضَى عَلَيْهِ, that means he killed him. There قَضَى عَلَيْهِ, he finished him, he killed him. So Allah says here لَا يُقْضَى عَلَيْهِمْ, they will not be finished so that they die. They will not be finished so that they could die. Now here لَا يُقْضَى عَلَيْهِمْ, the consequence of لَا يُقْضَى عَلَيْهِمْ would have been lest they die. the consequence would have been if Allah decreed that they are finished, they would die. So this will not happen. So here, what happened, that the fa is fa as-sababiyya, okay, and it caused the yamutun, which was actually yamutun, it caused it to become mansoob, and hence the noon was omitted, and it says fayamutu, fayamutu. Now there is again quite a bit of difficulty in translating this fa. And that is why you also find the translators, when they look into this ayah in different translations, they will take the whole usloob and try to explain it in English. They will take the whole usloob and try to explain it in English without there being a word-to-word translation for it, generally in the translation. Perhaps if you find some word-to-word translation for the Quran, perhaps you can take a bit of help from there. Here, he mentions another example. Barakallahu fikum. He says the hadith, لا يموت لمسلم ثلاثة من الولد فيلج النار إلا تحلة القسم. There is no Muslim for whom 3 children die that he enters fire except just tahillat al-qasam, just to fulfill the qasam. Fulfill the qasam means مثلا if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had promised that such a person will enter Jahannam, and he will only enter Jahannam just for a little bit, just to fulfill the oath, and then he will be taken out of Jahannam. So here again, لا يموت لمسلم ثلاثة من الولد، لا يموت لمسلم ثلاثة من الولد فيلج النار. فيلج النار. Thing that is the consequence فالسببية. What happens next? فيلج النار إلا تحلة القسم. طيب, again, let's just take another hadith. Perhaps it will further clarify our concept of fa as-sababiyya. يقول هنا الحديث مغبرت قدم عبد في سبيل الله فتمسه النار. There has never been that the 2 feet of a slave are subject to the dust. They are made dusty in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَتَمَسَّهُ النَّارُ. And it has not happened that the feet of a slave are made dusty in the way of Allah, فَتَمَسَّهُ النَّارُ. The next thing, the consequence, that fire would touch him. And this has never happened, that feet are made dusty in the way of Allah and fire touches him. So again, here we have quite a bit of difficulty in translating the fa as-sababiyya. I'm not sure, wallahi, how to further clarify it to you, but let us just take easier examples. مثلا here, ذاكر فتنجح, study and revise فتنجح, so that you succeed, so that you pass your exams. مثلا. Then here we have مثلا ولا تتبع الهوى فيضلك عن سبيل الله. Do not follow your desire, lest it misguides you from the way of Allah. فَيُضِلَّ. So this is the usage of fa as-sababiyya. More examples. The Sheikh here has mentioned a whole exercise on page 161, or page after it, تطبيقات. But here, I don't know where he has mentioned the fa as-sababiyya. Here, مثلا, in this ayah, the Shaykh says, قُلْ هَلْ عِنْدَكُمْ مِنْ عِلْمٍ فَتُخْرِجُوهُ لَنَا. Do you have any ilm? Do you have any knowledge, so that you would take it out and extract for us? Take it out and tell it to us. So again, here the fa is playing the role of fa as-sababiyya. طيب, let's go back to, let's not delve into the meaning of fa as-sababiyya for now. Let's go back to let's go back to the different shurut related to fa as-sababiyya. Perhaps that will help us understand the concept of fa as-sababiyya a little bit. See, ikhwan, when it comes to fa as-sababiyya, the fa will not cause nasb except with a shart. يشترط, there is a shart. There is a shart, there is a condition What is the condition in fa as-sababiyya and waw al-ma'iyya? That they are tusbaqa and tusbaqa. They are preceded in the sentence by a nafi, negation, or talab, or some sort of a talab. Talab here means it's a very vast word in Nahw. Talab is not just any yani command. It's not just any thing that you're seeking. Talab is a term that is used in Nahw, and it refers to specific things. We will discuss them later, inshallah. What the point here is that there must be negation or some sort of talab before the fa for it to work. If there is no negation and there is no talab, and the jumla is affirmative, only affirmative, there is no negation, it's an affirmative jumla, there is no talab. لا تنصبان الفعل. Then the fa السببية and واو المعية, they don't make the فعل منصوب. Now the example of which is أحضر الدرس فأتعلم الفقه. أحضر الدرس, I will attend the dars and I will learn fiqh. أحضر الدرس فأتعلم الفقه. I will attend the dars and I will learn fiqh. وآكل اللحم وأشرب اللبن. مثلا this is for واو المعية طبعا. But this, the point here being that there was no negation before fa in the sentence. There is no negation. There is no talab. There is no talab. Talab, you can say, seeking something, either by command or by, مثلا, just, wishing for it. There is no negation. There is no talab. There is no nafi. There is no talab. The fa did not work. The fa did not work. It did not cause nasb. When does it cause nasb? It causes nasb when it is preceded by a nafi or by talab. And what do we mean by talab here, ya ikhwan? Talab means 7 things, which are: number 1, al-amr. What is the meaning of amr, ya ikhwan?
Command.
Command. So if you have a command and after which you use fa, then the fa will do the nasb. Number 2, an-nahi. What's the meaning of nahi, ya ikhwan?
Prohibition.
Prohibition. So there is a prohibition, and after which you use a fa, it will cause nasb. Dua. What is the meaning of dua, ya ikhwan?
Prayer.
Prayer, naam. And it is the same as amr, except that amr is from a person who is of a higher rank and he addresses a person of a lower rank. So that is called amr. Just like a father when he asks his little boy to bring him water, this is amr. But مثلا when when we are making a dua and we say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma waffiqni or Allahumma rzuqni, then even though technically urzuqni is an amr, but it is not suitable to say that you are commanding Allah, ma'adallah. That's why when a person of lower stature, a being of a lower stature, addresses with a fi'al amr a being of a higher stature, it is called dua. It's not called amr anymore, it's called dua. So it's the same as amr and nahi. It's just that when you are addressing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you use the word dua. And when you are addressing normal people, matalan, you say that it's amr or nahi. Naam. Number 4 is su'al. As-su'al. And istifham. In other words, don't write su'al, rather write istifham. That's what is used mostly in Nahw for su'al. Istifham. Istifham. Istifham means asking a question. So if there is a question being asked and after which you use the fa, then the fa is going to cause nasb. Number 5. Al-ard. And al-ard means a request. Number 6, التحضيض. And التحضيض is a very intense command or request. Very intense. Number 7 is التمني. What is the meaning of تمني يا إخوان?
Hoping or wishing.
Hoping, wishing. أحسنت. Wishing. So if you're wishing for something and after in the same sentence you use a fa, the fa will cause nasb. And number 8 is الرجاء. What is raja? That is hoping for something. Hoping for something. So tamanni is the usage of laita and raja is the usage of la'alla. Now this is getting a little bit difficult, but right now, this is just for you to become familiar with it. If you all that you remember from this is that fa as-sababiyya, or don't even say fa as-sababiyya. Just say that the fa, they cause the fi'l to become mansoob when they are used after nafi and after talab. Yes. If this is all that you take from this dars, inshallah, that is also enough. If you remember that fa causes the fi'l to become mansoob if it is mentioned after nafi and after talab, then this is enough, inshallah. This is enough, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Right. Now let me just give you some examples for each one of these 8, and this will serve as a practice for us, for identifying fa as-sababiyya and how it works. Right. First of all, with the nafi. With the nafi, we had this example from the Quran, لا يقضى عليهم فيموتوا. لا يقضى عليهم فيموتوا. طيب. Now, here يا إخوان, لا يقضى عليهم فيموتوا. Where is the nafi يا إخوان? Where is the negation?
لا.
لا يقضى. أحسن لا. There is negation here, after which a fa was used. What did it do? It caused the fi'l mudari after it to become mansoob. What is the alama of nasb yamutu?
حذف النون.
حذف النون. بارك الله فيك. طيب. Now let us take an example for amr. Same example that we mentioned previously from the book of Sheikh Khalid. ذاكر فتنجح. Where is the amr يا إخوان?
ذاكر.
ذاكر. revise, study. ذاكر فتنجح. The result of which will be that you will succeed. طيب. An example of nahi, مثلا, just like we mentioned here, لا تشرب ماء باردا فتمرض. طيب, where is the nahi here? Where is the prohibition?
لا تشرب.
لا تشرب. And then there was a fa used after it. It caused the فعل مضارع to become منصوب. ممتاز جدا. طيب, دعاء. In دعاء مثلا, if you say يا ربي مثلا, لا تحرمني, do not deprive me, لا تحرمني فضلك فأخسر. O Allah, do not deprive me of your fadl, of your favors and blessings and virtues, lest I may become a loser, فأخسر, that I become one of the losers. So لا تحرمني, this is a dua that you are addressing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with, that do not deprive me of your fadl, lest I become one of the losers. طيب, استفهام. Now let me just erase some of these. طيب استفهام. مثلا هل أكلت، لحظة، نعم، هل أكلت اللحم فتقوى؟ تقوى here يا إخوان here means to become powerful, to become mighty, to increase your power, to gain power. Taqwa is not the taqwa that is piety. This is not the taqwa that this is قوية يقوى means to become powerful. نعم يا أخي أبو بكر، تفضل يا أخي. هل أكلت اللحم? Did you have meat so that you might become powerful? طبعا here the علامة of nasb is not showing because of the alif. There is ta'addur. But this is an example of istifham being used before fa as-sababiyya, and fa as-sababiyya causing the fi'l after it to become mansub. طيب, request. Request, that is عرض. عرض is the usage of law. يعني, you know, like in English, sometimes when we are requesting someone, if he comes to our home, if you had dinner with us, or what if you have dinner with us, or if you had dinner with us, it will be really good. You know, sometimes when you're requesting, you use the word if. You use the word if. مثلا, you're saying if you have dinner with us, and you end the sentence over there. What does that sentence mean? That means that it will be really good if you had dinner with us. Or if you had dinner with us, it would be, you'll be really honored. So it's the usage of law. So مثلا, you say لو, مثلا لو زرتنا فنكرمك. if you, how about you visit us? لو زرتنا, how about you visit us and we honor you, فنكرمك. This is an example of request. You're requesting him to visit you, and as a consequence or as a any reward for it, you will honor him. طيب. Then we have tahdid. Tahdid is a very intense form of a request or a command. مثلا, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when Usama bin Zayd once killed a person even after he had said La ilaha illallah, there was a battle, there was a war, and in which Usama bin Zayd had participated, and the person who he was about to kill, he said La ilaha illallah, and Usama bin Zayd saw that has been, he saw him as saying it out of the fear of death, not because he really accepted Islam, and he still went on to kill him. So when he came and told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about what he did, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, he asked him, Halla, lahza, Allah musta'an. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, Halla shaqaqta an qalbihi, Halla shaqaqta an qalbihi. Why did you not open his heart and check whether he was really he said La ilaha illallah from sincerity, out of sincerity, or was it out of fear? And this was a way to condemn Usama bin Zayd's doing that. He killed that person even after he said La ilaha illallah. So as if the Prophet ﷺ is intensely and emphatically saying to him that you should open the chest of the person to check whether he's saying it out of sincerity. It's also sarcastic at the same time, or you can say rhetoric at the same time, that you should open the chest of a person to see whether he's saying it out of sincerity or not. Likewise, mathalan, you can say to a person whom you want to emphatically tell to come to your house, or mathalan, come attend the dars. هلا حضرت الدرس هلا حضرت الدرس فتستفيد, so that you might يعني benefit something. فتستفيد. لحظة, let me just correct this. هل حضرت الدرس, يعني why don't you attend the درس فتستفيد, or attend the درس, saying it emphatically so that you may benefit, هل حضرت الدرس فتستفيد. This is تحضيض, and it's an intense and emphatic command and request. Then we have تمني. تمني بارك الله فيكم is the usage of later. يعني ليتني مثلا what is that آية فأكون من المحسنين. سبحان الله, in سورة الزمر يا إخوان. أو تقول حين ترى العذاب لو أن لي كرة فأكون من المحسنين. So this is again a تمني, يعني لو أن لي كرة, he says لو أن لي كرة فأكون من المحسنين. يعني if I have another chance at life. كرة means repetition, يعني another go at life. لو أن لي كرة فأكون من المحسنين, I would be one of the محسنين. This is again he's wishing for it. He is wishing for it. أو تقول حين ترى العذاب لو أن لي كرة فأكون من المحسنين. أحسنت. كذلك مثلا تقول, يعني you can say for yourself مثلا let me just erase this first. يعني مثلا تقول ليتني مثلا I wish, ليتني أطعت, I wish I obeyed my father. ليتني أطعت والدي فأدخل الجنة. فأدخل الجنة, يعني I wish I obeyed my father so that I would enter the Jannah easily. فأدخل الجنة بسهولة. ليتني أطعت والدي فأدخل الجنة بسهولة. So again, you use ليتني, you made a wish, after which the fa was used and the fa caused the fi'l mudari to become mansub. Finally, we have raja, that is hope. And raja, ya ikhwan, is the usage of la'alla. And the usage of la'alla, as mentioned previously in the example of Fir'aun, but that was a little, quite a difficult example to process. Let us mention something that is relatively easier in raja. مثلا لعلي أطلب العلم فأصير عالما. I will, inshallah, I hope that I will seek knowledge and hence become an alim. فأصير عالما. So لعلي, this was raja happening here, hope, and after which a fa was used, which caused the fi'l mudari after it to become mansub. فأصير عالما. So this is in short the usage of fa as-sababiyya. I know it is quite difficult to process it right now. I know it's quite difficult to understand this concept, but even if you become somewhat familiar with it, فبها ونعمة, it's barakah بإذن الله تعالى. Inshallah, واو المعية بإذن الله تعالى, we will do it in the next class. واو المعية is relatively easier than fa as-sababiyya. Fa as-sababiyya is not necessarily always sabab, but it's wallahi difficult to understand. But inshallah, with time, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, with lots of practice, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, you will be able to process it and grasp it. And inshallah, I will share the book Nahw al-Tatbiqi with you all. Very beneficial. mentions lots of examples. One can practice, one can look into it, analyze the examples, look for the things that he has studied so far in the examples, because the mu'allif himself, he sometimes, he solves the examples for the reader. So it is going to be, inshallah, very beneficial. نقف هنا ونكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. If anyone has any question, they can ask. نعم. طيب إذا نقف هنا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.